on this episode of the Sorority Chat podcast.
There's form and function and fancy and all the things, but at the end of the day, it has to be functional for you. So if you think you're a decanter person and you're like, I can't figure out why I have 18 back stock. Well, maybe you're a Costco shopper and you really don't need to decant because you buy the really big one and it wouldn't all fit. So now you're trying to fit these on your shelf plus a 20-pound bag of flour or whatever. But do be mindful of how you actually live in your space because that will help you maintain it well.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Sorority Chat. I'm Liz Alexander, a designer and sorority alum who's obsessed with all things Greek life. My mission? To bring you real conversations, smart insights, and fun stories that help make sorority living even better. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and let's chat. Hey sorority chatters, welcome back to this week's episode. I am excited to have Tara Stewart joining us for round 2. She is a personal organizer based in Lexington, Kentucky, and that is how I got to know her. Today's episode is hitting really close to home, quite literally. Tara and I just completed a full refresh of my personal pantry, and so we're going to walk you through that process today, from all of the pain points that got this started to the product selections that finished us out and how we tackled it all virtually. So we're not even in the same city. So if your pantry feels like it's constantly one snack run away from total chaos, this episode is for you. Welcome back, Tara.
Hello.
I am very excited to talk about this project because it brings me so much joy every day.
So excited about this.
Let's start and talk a little bit about, from your perspective, why pantries tend to create such a pain point for people, even if they're pretty organized in other parts of their house.
I think the number one thing I've noticed in almost my 6 years of doing this is it's just the wrong size container for whatever they're trying to contain. That I feel is the long story much shorter. So most people's because yours was not, so let me say most. Most are 16 inches deep, most of them. But most containers are not. So what happens is, even if you feel like I'm going to try to get ahead of the game and I'm going to buy this cutesy bin, two things happen. One, people buy what they think just looks cute on a whim, and then they take it home and it doesn't fit. Like maybe they thought they only owned 2 bags of chips, but they go to Costco and they own 82 big bags. Or they're just going off what they see online and they get it home and it's 10 inches instead of 16. So stuff gets pushed to the back and things like that. So even in the most, I feel somewhat categorized and organized and something still feels a little off, it's typically the size container for the items you're trying to contain.
Okay, and that was 100% where I was sitting. So I had recently moved. I'd been in this house for about a year. To kind of set the stage for listeners, my pantry is a walk-in pantry, and so I had shelving on both sides. And to your point, you said most shelving is about 16 inches deep. Mine was like, 12 and a half inches?
12 and a half, which brought on another pickle that I know we're going to talk about. But yeah, and it was a large pantry. I mean, here's the thing. Sometimes just because pantries are big doesn't mean they're more organized. They're just bigger.
Right. It's just more stuff. I see it a lot when I'm working with clients. The more space you have, the more you tend to just grow into it and kind of explode into it.
Absolutely.
And having some parameters that make it more narrow can work in your favor because you have to use the space well, as opposed to just sort of exploding in there.
Right, right.
And yeah, so that was my situation, was everything felt mismatched. It was just, like you said, some quote cute containers thrown in there, but they really weren't fitting well. And so you'd walk in and you'd say, oh yeah, there's all these bins. This is great. But it just wasn't working for me.
Well, and here's the other thing in your defense, like you had just stated, you used to live in Lexington and so you had moved. Well, you were probably, which again is another thing people do, trying to repurpose what you already had. Organizing product is not cheap a lot of the times. So you were trying to repurpose. So that's another thing that happens. Like you have good intentions.
Yeah.
So I recognized a lot of the stuff that was in there and I was thinking, oh, this could go here. So you can use it somewhere else, but you just need to find the right home for it.
Yeah. So that is exactly what I did. So when we walked through, which we'll get into this deeper in a second, and you said, okay, here are the things I think we can reuse in here. This is the stuff to get out. Then I went and said, all right, the things that we don't need in the pantry, can I use them somewhere else or not? So some things got repurposed in other rooms and they functioned so well in there. And then a number of things got donated. My sister took some things because she was moving. And so I love to make sure things have a home. It just wasn't in my house anymore.
Yes, right. They need a second life somewhere else. And I bet I know which one's probably left.
Were there any other red flags for you when you first saw the pictures of my pantry that you were like, oh, we got to fix this?
Red flags. No, I don't know that there was any red flags. There were just certain things that I knew might have a better solution. For example, and I'm going to try to see if I can remember this correctly because it's been a hot minute. The turntables. You had turntables and I love turntables. And so I'm like, okay, so if we just move them here I know which one it was. The cans. Okay.
Yes.
And I feel like this might be a hot take or not. I'm not sure. I don't personally love the tiered risers.
Like the risers. Mm-hmm.
And again, this is a personal opinion. People can't tell how short or tall I am right now, but I will tell you I am tiny short. So for me, those tiered risers, even though you can visually see everything, I always would knock things down. Like I'd try to get to the back and I can't get it because the things are in the front. So for me personally, when I see a tiered riser, 9 times out of 10, I'm taking them out of my client's home. So you had a tier riser and you could see the cans, but I'm like, I think we have a different, I think I have a better solution for your cans. So there was that. And again, that's just a personal thing. And so I was like, even when I sent you the list, I'm like, I don't know if she'll go like this or not, but we're going to send it. So I'm looking at my the
diagram you drew. Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to remember. So I know that I was thinking about the tiered shelf. And a lot of times people will use those even in a cabinet, which sometimes I think is even harder to get to the stuff because you don't have the wiggle room. But I don't know that I necessarily, zones. Your zones were a little wonky donkey.
Yes.
So yeah. And again, you'd moved, you're trying to repurpose containers. So like if you have a large category and it needs a large bin, it might only be able to go on one side. So I do recall you had food plus party supplies on both sides. And so in my brain, I'm like, how can I make you zones? So like paper and party, because you're very social and you like to entertain. And I want that stuff handy. So I'm like, I want that on one side. And then I want really like edible foods over on another side. And then I really wanted stuff off the top. One of the things I was so excited about working with you. So when you reached out, I was over the moon because you are such a classy girl and everything always looks top tier. I'm like, girlfriend, we got to get this stuff off the top.
Yeah, thank you.
Gotta come off the top. We got to take that to the basement. So, but yeah, those would probably be if I had to think of something. And those again are little things that might not bother other people. And again, it's your pantry, so I want people to have freedom to use whatever supplies. But if something feels a little wonky donkey, it might be some of those things, like stuff at the top, 2 different zones, the wrong size thing for something.
Which all seem minor, but when we changed it, it was an actual game changer for how it functions and how I felt walking into the space.
I love this space.
So we did everything virtually, just email, phone, FaceTime. So for you, like the professional on your end, like how did that look? Like what were the challenges or the benefits of working that way?
Well, I will say I had a top tier client, so that helped. So knowing that you have a really good eye for things, and I know you're very meticulous when it comes to stuff. And I also knew you had an aesthetic you were after, right? So so right off the bat, you sent me measurements and pictures. Super duper helpful. And so what I always find funny about my personality, I'm always like, oh, I got it. I'm good. I got exactly what I need. And then I'm sure, as you can attest to, I'll always be like 2 days later, actually, now that I think about it, can you get me X, Y, or Z? So one of the things right off the bat is, as we talked about earlier, is your pantry was only 12.5. So I can get a 10-inch bin real easy. I can get a 15-inch bin real easy, but 12 is hard. So I spent a good bit of time trying to figure out where we could find some baskets, where we could repurpose the clear ones that you have that I really did want to use. I can't wait for them to be able to see the visuals because this will help. But so you had clear containers that I did want to use and repurpose. And those I knew I wanted a little higher because you can see into clear. And I know we wanted to do baskets, but I think you might be equally vertically challenged. So I wanted the baskets a little lower because while baskets are gorgeous, you can't see into them. So I don't really want them past eye level. I want them down. And so I want my clear ones up at the top so you can see in, and I want the baskets down so that you can see below. So we also knew you did not want to try to have to return stuff to a place that was far away. So we were like, what can we do at Walmart? What can we do at Target? Or what can we do at Amazon?
Yes.
So even though I can get certain products at the Container Store, that's not helpful to you, because if you, and I always tell people, overbuy, you can send it back.
Right.
But if you overbought, how are you going to get, that's no. So we needed to find stuff on Amazon. Mainly was all Amazon and then Walmart, right?
Yeah, that ended up being the two retailers we used. Mm-hmm.
So finding a 12-inch, and even one of them, I think, was measuring at 12, and it comes off just the tiniest bit on the shelf. But again, I mean, it was one of those things. It's like, it says it's 12, but it's going to peer over a tiny bit. So from that regard, so I drew us a drawing. Look at my drawing.
Yes, which I appreciated, being visual.
And I sent those over. And so I was like, okay, here's what I'm kind of thinking. So after I got your measurements and your current pictures, and we had a call kind of what your vision was, and it was baskets and clears and simplicity and stuff like that, I went through and I was like, okay, here's what I'm thinking. And then I made you a Google Doc with all the links. So I was saying, like, for example, on one of these, I think I even give them letters. Yeah, I was like, okay, you're going to use baskets A here. And so on your Google Doc, it had baskets A. And on a couple of them, I think I gave you a couple options. Like, this is going to be basket B, but here's some you can choose from. So we did the Google Doc that kind of had my written vision, mainly because you're busy, I'm busy. I'm like, you can reference the Google Doc, you can reference the links at any time. So I wanted something you could, go back to without feeling like we had to have a phone call and try to schedule all that. And then I also, for the Amazon one, made you actually an idea list on my Amazon storefront. So if you didn't even want to deal with trying to get to, which I think we can probably link maybe too, but if you didn't want to have to worry about trying to get to the Google Doc, you could just bring up your personal Amazon storefront list and it was all right there.
Yeah, which I appreciated that very much. I went into this knowing I wanted to brighten the pantry and make it more fun and playful, but then that's why I wanted simplicity when it came to the bins and the things that you were going to suggest. And so you and I talked through that whole thing, because I put a very, very bold oyster print wallpaper.
It's so gorgeous.
Thank you.
Do you have a picture to show them?
Yes. Yeah. No, not handy, but maybe I can pull one up here while I'm talking.
I can pull one up. I got you.
Oh, yeah, you do that. So anyway, it's from Painted Paper. It had been stalking me on Instagram for months. And we love oysters. And so I was like, I would love to put this in the pantry and just make it fun, because we cook and entertain. It's a really cool spot. So did that on the ceiling, painted all the walls and the storage cubbies in like a powder blue. And then you took it from there and brought in the woven baskets for texture. And then, like you said, the clear bins just to keep it really organized. I loved the labels that you had suggested for me because
yes,
the lettering is gold. So color-wise, it tied in so well. And it all looked so good in how it finished. Do you have the picture?
Can I show your ceiling? This is my favorite.
There it is. There are the oysters.
So pretty. But the thing is, it's not as in your face once you see the whole thing. I mean, it's epic. Yeah. Okay. So we're talking labels. Are you talking these little girlies?
Yes. I love those because they came in either black lettering or the gold lettering. And I chose the gold because it tied in with the color of the baskets and it just kept everything very understated. And then I went through and added like gluten-free to some things just that needed to be marked.
And the nice thing about those labels is they're not expensive.
Right.
I mean, they're like $10 for a pack of 144 or 150. I can't remember exactly. And then they have different sets. So there's like the pantry ones and the baking ones and the bathroom ones. So if you have a vibe that you like, then you can go through but it saves you so much time. Do you want me to show them a picture of what it looked like before?
Yes. Let's look at that. Let's share what it looked like. It was dark.
I can do the before and after, but let me see here. I got to find one. I know that we said that didn't have the ceiling done yet. Oh, I found it. Okay. So this is the before.
Yeah. So we have this like dark gray paint on the walls. There's some artwork, but that's it. Otherwise, ceiling's white.
Right. And then you had these Target gray and white baskets. Are those the ones that left the house?
Yeah. They went into my bathroom.
Oh, there you go. Good.
They hold some towels and some things in my bathroom. So those are great. But yes, they were just too big.
They were. And then these, I'm going to try to zoom in. These are great. They're actually from Walmart and they're 15 inches deep and they're great, but they weren't going to work here. Because again, your shelves were 12 and a half.
Yeah, those clear plastic bins. My sister took those.
Oh yeah, they are. And they are great. And you can see into them and they do fit on a 16-inch shelf pantry, but you didn't have a 16-inch shelf pantry.
Well, what I appreciated too about working with you was you asked me a lot about how we use things. And, at one point you had said, oh, move the cookbooks to the back of the room. And I said, but actually I'm often pulling out one specific recipe book to make dinner or to be making things for holidays. And so I want them to be closer to the entry so I can just grab it and go. And you said, okay, great, here's the swaps then we'll make. And so we just sort of worked through it in real time and talking to each other so you understood my methods better.
Right. Because the thing is, and this is why even if it's not virtual and we are going into someone's home, I think people have a misconception because they did watch, some shows that used to be on Netflix, and the clients would leave and then they would come home and they'd be like, ta-da. And so they think that's what we're going to do. And I'm like, that's not how we operate, only because I want it to fit your needs. So we're not gluten-free in my house, so I wouldn't need to add gluten-free. I mean, we've had clients that maybe the mom's gluten-free, but nobody else is. So we have a gluten-free section. I'm not going to know that unless we're working directly. And the way, I don't really bake, but my husband does. So he's kind of got his stuff over here. Or maybe in your case, oatmeal is actually considered is oatmeal gluten-free?
Some is not.
Okay, pretend it's gluten-free. So maybe for you, oatmeal is a breakfast food, but for me, it's for oatmeal cookies, right? So in my brain, I might put it in baking, but in your brain, you'd put it in breakfast. So it's very important, even if we're doing virtual or directly with someone, I want to be able to talk it out because, again, you have to be the one to maintain it. So if I set it up the way my brain works, it might not be the same as yours, right? So, and giving you some freedom in there. And also for your listeners, like if you are hiring someone locally, it needs to be someone you feel comfortable saying to, I don't like that idea.
Yeah.
Right. Because I tell people all the time, be brutally honest with me. I can take it. Trust me. I am good. If I shout out an idea and you're like, tell me, because for a lot of women, I think they don't feel secure enough to say, I don't like X, Y, or Z. I mean, I'm sure you have this conversation with your clients because as a designer, yes, you're recommending things, but you still value what their feedback is. So it's working with somebody that is going to respect your opinion, offer ideas. I mean, they are the expert in their area, but you're the expert in your home. So that's the difference.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And you were talking a minute ago about the can roller as the new organization instead of the risers. And I just had always thought risers were really the only option. It was how you could sort of, rather than stack things that you couldn't see, that way you could see everything. But then once you pointed out, well, technically, if you go and grab something off the highest in the back, you're potentially knocking everything else down. And I was like, oh, you're so right. And so then we put in this can roller. And that I think has been the biggest fun surprise for me.
So do you like it?
I really like it.
That makes me so happy. Okay, so I'm gonna show our friends what we're talking about.
I just had never even heard of it before you suggested it.
So apologies if it looks like I'm totally paying attention. I am just trying to find the photos for our wonderful viewers. So this is the tiered thing. So this is the before, and this is the tiered shelf. Let me see if I do it that way, that Liz and I are referring to. And again, a lot of people use them. No judgment. If you use it and love it, great. But another thing happens. See how like that one can's kind of like, ooh, she might fall off. We don't know. Like beans are hanging on for their dear life.
That's what I was going to say is a lot of cans were deeper than the ledge of the riser. And so I was like, now I see what's not working about this.
Right. And so it's really funny. So here's the can roller. And I try, the other thing I try with clients now is I'm not going to send you a link or recommend something unless I've personally used it in my house or used it with other clients and it's sturdy and it works. So this is the can roller we switched her to.
Yes.
And it has these little white dividers that you can move around. So if you have smaller cans or bigger cans, and it still fits on her shelf. But now you can see it and they do this neat little dance, like they'll roll down. It's like a conga line for cans.
Am I a just crazy person? Because then I still go back in and I make sure that the label's rolled up so I can read what it is.
I think one of my favorite parts of this project is I was like, these pictures are epic. Of course, Liz is going to send me the most amazing portrait mode, all things facing forward. And sometimes I'd get one where I was like, ooh, this starfish tuna's off. But the next one would be straight. I'm like, tuna needs to straighten up. Oh, she fixed it. So the pictures were like, yeah, you killed it. So yeah, that was really neat. And can I give a shout out to you about this little spot? People need to see this spot. Can we talk about this spot?
Oh, the artwork?
Can you tell these friends to like throw in some of this, and it's recipes, right? On the wall?
That means a lot, yes. So all of that is very special artwork. So the large painting is a painting my sister actually did in high school. And it's of like Granny Smith green apples. And I've always loved it. I've taken it from every house with me. And so I put it in the pantry, and at one point I thought, oh, is this too much with the oysters? And I had a good friend say, it's a pantry. It can be about food and it can be wild. So I was like, okay, sold. And then the 2 recipes that you're referring to, my mom passed in 2012, and those were 2 desserts that she made very regularly, specifically around the holidays. They happen to also be apple recipes. So that's why it goes so well with the artwork. And the recipes are an apple crisp and an apple cake. And so it is handwritten from her recipe notebook. It's like stained with Crisco.
It's gorgeous.
And I frame them, and I actually have to take them off the wall if I'm making the recipe because I need to have it. But yeah, so it's special stuff like that it's so nice to have in the pantry, but it also has a purpose and it makes sense being in that location.
Oh, it was gorgeous. I love that.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to mention, because we were talking about the printed labels that you purchased, but I also love that on the white clip labels that we put on the baskets, I was just with you in spirit, you hand wrote on them.
I did, because they came with that erasable, that dry erase marker. And I loved that because should I change, okay, and I don't want to keep potatoes in that basket anymore, I wipe that off and just write the new name on it. And I liked having that flexibility as opposed to putting a sticker on it. So I appreciated those. And I loved how large they were and the way they do just clip on the opening in the basket and they stay in place really well.
Well, and what I loved about seeing this, because for me, it's so fun to see a designer then use the pieces and make it super fancy. And what I loved about it was I think it's going to give even my clients permission to mix and match.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, you have the fancy labels that are pre-done by Amazon and whatever, but then you also have the free-handed ones, and look, it looks incredible together. I think for myself included, because I'm a little type A, so sometimes we feel like it has to all match. And really what's so gorgeous about the way you did the finishing touches is it doesn't. Like, it's like there's the handwritten ones and the stuff on the wall and the oyster. It looks so put together. And then you're right. You have the freedom to go, okay, well, you know what? I'm not going to do popcorn anymore. I'm going to do, I don't know, pumpkin seeds or whatever.
Yeah.
And these are actually, that is an example of the 12-inch bins that we got, the 2 long ones. They came in a pack of 2, and they hung off. This is my type A coming in. See how they hang off just the tiniest bit?
But it's not bad.
They hang off the tiniest bit. So, but it's fine. Everything's fine.
It's fine. I'm fine.
Yes. So I loved that artwork in the back. So,
well, thank you. And I appreciate your comment about the mixing and matching of labels. I just feel like it's not feasible in everyday life for everything to be matchy-matchy. That's not how I approach designs. It just like I said, it's not feasible. And so I think it feels more natural and more lived in without looking messy. And it just makes it very workable.
Well, and while we're talking about what's feasible and what's not, I also would love to touch on decanting.
Yes.
Because, speaking of baking, there's your baking section. Now,
yes.
I love this. So if you're the type of person that when you get home, you're busy and you don't have time to and I know you're busy as well, but you might circle back and then put the flour in or whatever. And because I even go the extra mile, like I'll take, if there's this much flour in the bottom, I'll dump it out and then put the new one in and put the old one back on top because I'm funny like that.
That would be my method.
I'm not normal. So don't feel like you have to decant items if you can't keep it up. Because what I have noticed with some of my clients is there's a disconnect between who they are and who they want to be, and they're different, and that's fine. But I want you to live in who you are and embrace who you are. So if you think you're a decanter person and you're like, I can't figure out why I have 18 backstock. Well, maybe you're a Costco shopper and you really don't need to decant because you buy the really big one and it wouldn't all fit. So now you're trying to fit these on your shelf plus a 20-pound bag of flour or whatever. So just be realistic when you're thinking through how there's form and function and fancy and all the things, but at the end of the day, it has to be functional for you. So this is gorgeous. I have something similar, but if you are the type of person that you're like, girl, don't make me decant it, we never would, and don't make other people make you decant it, right? Like maybe you just need like one of the baskets like you had. Like I do this a lot for clients. Let me go with the bigger basket. This is the one that we got at Walmart. It's by the Containers. No, it's by the Home Edit. You can find them at Walmart. The Container Store does have something similar. So just FYI, but these are big. They're like 16 inches front to back, or 17, I think, front to back, but we turned them sideways so you can fit larger items, right? So snack size chips. But going back to the baking, if you're a baker that bakes a lot and you don't like to decant, just get one big one and put baking in it and put your bags of flour and sugar in there. And then when you're ready to bake, just pick up the little basket and take it to the kitchen.
Yes.
So there's options. There's not one way to do it, but do be mindful of how you actually live in your space, because that will help you maintain it well.
I agree. You really have to know yourself and know your daily life to be able to make the right decisions. Otherwise, you're just throwing good money after bad, just trying to make something aesthetic.
Yeah. And I want to show those clear ones that you repurposed as well, because these you already had. Let me see if I can scroll through here quickly. Again, I probably should have had some of these up here. Okay. So these are items that you already owned, right? So
yes.
Like those clear bins. So all we did was, I think we moved them up a shelf maybe.
We did, yes.
So we moved those up a shelf because you can then visually still see them. And then we moved our baskets down below. These are great for smaller categories. I'm trying to see what you even have in here. We're going to see what you're up to eating.
I have like sweet snacks. So it's like leftover Halloween candy. We have a salty snack one with like peanuts and things like that.
Who still has leftover Halloween candy? How is that possible?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mine was gone in like 2 days and I didn't even have any. I think none of my kids trick-or-treated. I think it's just, how do I have leftover candy? And then the sauces. I like that you did a high wall here. I like the high wall for the sauces. The low one is fine, but sometimes they go all swirly whirly.
Yeah, they can fall off and I don't want that busting on the floor.
Yeah, so I was pleased with those. Here's another little shot of the way, again, portrait mode. Thank you, Boo.
You are so welcome. And also, friends, you can find all of this, the links to shop and the pictures that Tara's been showing on her blog post. And we'll share the blog URL at the end of the episode, but you can access all of this through that. Tara, what like kind of closing thoughts here? If somebody is interested in updating their pantry, like what would be the first thing that you would say to start with?
Purge. Because probably most of your stuff is old. It just happens. If you're looking at updating your pantry and maybe you've been using the wrong size bins, then that means there's probably some older stuff behind the bins. So one, it's going to take longer than you think it's going to take. It really is. I know that everyone's like, oh, but it's a small pantry, but you've packed it in good, I promise. So I'm always like, get a big long table, borrow one from a friend, pull everything out. We tend to do things by section first. Like we'll grab things by section on our table when our team's working, and then we'll go through, we'll find old dates. That's a personal preference. I know some people aren't worried about expiration dates, but I'll leave that up to the listeners to decide what they want to do there.
Right.
But then figuring out the size of your category. I also tell people that when you're getting ready to do this, don't do this when you haven't grocery shopped in a while. Make sure you're working with a full or one of your fullest pantries. We did a pantry a couple weeks ago and, it was the holidays. So she had the most amount of baking she'll ever have. Well, that was a great time to do it, because if you do your pantry when you haven't grocery shopped in a couple weeks, then you're going on the premise that this is all I ever have. And that's not true. So also leave yourself some space. So, and be mindful if you're a Costco or Sam's shopper, right? So getting the categories and figuring out what size will fit for those categories and then what size fits on the shelf. You might need 2 of the 17s that go a long ways full of chips. That's okay. No one's judging you. Chips are yummy. So, I would say expect it to take longer than you think and start it when you've already grocery shopped and you have a large amount of items.
That is very good advice. I would not have thought of either one of those things, but that makes total sense. Well, Tara, thank you so much. I loved doing this project with you, and thank you for coming on to help us break it down and encourage others on how they can update their pantry. If they would like to see the blog post about it or connect with you in other ways, tell them how to do that.
So yes, you're going to link the blog post below, right?
Yes, in the show notes.
So that will have all the before and afters, which y'all have to see. They're amazing. You can find us on Instagram at Tara M. Stewart. That's our handle. And then, of course, the website is taramstewart.com. And then if you want to work with us virtually or in person, there is a contact us form on the website. I always tell people our homes are really organized, but my DMs are not. So please, 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 I love chatting, but if you really want to get a hold of me, the best way to do that is the contact us form on the website.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. Well, thank you so much, Tara.
It's been wonderful. Thank you, Liz.
Welcome to Liz's House Hot Takes. This is where I take the lessons I've learned over the last 16 years of designing Greek houses and offer you my pro tips. Here's today's house hot take. Don't skip the punch list. Every project has those little loose ends. Paint touch-ups, hardware swaps, a damaged chair that needs to be replaced. That's what the punch list is for. Build in 2 to 3 weeks after installation to handle these details so you're not rushing to finish right before a big event. If not, these items can drag out, or worse yet, they'll fall off your radar and they'll never get done. I say the polish is in the punch list. Thanks for listening to another House Hot Take. For more inspiration, check out the PDR Interiors Instagram or TikTok. I'm Liz Alexander, and this is the Sorority Chat podcast. Catch you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're listening on a podcast platform, make sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you got something out of today's conversation, we'd love for you to leave us a 5-star review. It helps us reach more listeners just like you. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to check out this video right here or this one over here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us out. I'm Liz Alexander, and this is the Sorority Chat podcast. Catch you next time. This podcast is produced by Collier Landry for Don't Touch My Radio. Copyright Liz Alexander.